Right, hello and welcome to episode 159 of Tom's Hardware, the podcast for January 9th, 2024. It's a new year. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm your host, Associate Editor, Les Pounder. With me, as always, is Raspberry Pi expert, Ash Hill. And we've got two special guests. Yes, we only had one on the billing, but we've pulled another one in at the last second. We have Nicholas Tollervey and Joshua Lowe. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello,
Hello.
Les. Hi, Ash.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
No problem. How are you
Glad
both?
you
You all good? You've had a nice Christmas, had a nice holiday, nice New Year?
Yeah, it's good. I was completely away from computers, which is generally a good thing because mayhem generally happens when I'm near computers. So, yes.
I can attest to that, yes.
Yes.
Well, we've got you on the show tonight to talk about something. It's sort of tangentially related to a Raspberry Pi, in that it's Python related. Is tangentially the right word? Have I got it the right way around? We'll soon find out. It's to do with Python, and I want you to tell us about what PyScript is. So, Nicholas, do you want to go first and tell us about PyScript and what it all means?
Yes. Okay. So PyScript, put very simply, is Python running in the browser. You might ask yourself, well, what sort of Python might that be? Because there have been lots of examples in the past, over the last 20 or 30 years, of people running Python in the browser, whatever the browser might be. And often they have just been, well, one of two sorts of solutions, or three. There is a browser from way back when that was actually written in Python. So I don't mean that. The two approaches that have usually been taken is somebody has written a Python interpreter or something like a Python interpreter in JavaScript, and then that is what's run. And the second approach is the Python code that you write is transpiled, i.e. converted into the JavaScript equivalent. The thing here, though, is that there's JavaScript involved. With those two approaches, but with PyScript we do something very, very different. There is a newish standard, W3 standard called WebAssembly, and that is essentially a low-level instruction set for a virtual CPU. That's the WebAssembly, or WASM for short. And most modern browsers, all modern browsers, Safari is always that kind of like outlier that doesn't quite work how everybody else does. But most modern browsers support WebAssembly. And so what we have done with the help of other open source projects, so Pyodide and MicroPython at the moment, is we've taken code that is written in C and C++, and we have compiled that to WebAssembly so that the Python that you get in your browser is running at near native speed, and it is exactly the same C Python that you get on a regular desktop machine or Raspberry Pi or whatever, and it's exactly the same MicroPython as you get running on your microcontrollers. So that's it in a nutshell. We also have what PyScript adds is a kind of a layer around that, so it makes it very simple to use. So you just include a single line in the head tag of your HTML, and that pulls in all the Python things that you need. You can configure it, so you can tell it what sort of modules you need to download it from PI, so what sort of packages you might need, and where to find your code. And then we provide also what's called an FFI, a foreign function interface, that allows Python to reach into the web APIs of your browser. So anything that your browser can do, now Python can do, because the whole of the browser API is available to Python. So that means, in essence, to draw this story to a close, the most ubiquitous computing platform on the planet, i.e. the browser, that's everybody's grandma, and it runs on your mobile phones and tablets and even on cars, and we might come to that later on. But wherever a browser runs, now we have a solution that allows you to run one of the most popular and easy to learn programming languages as well. So that's what you get with PyScript, Python in the browser. It's if the web and Python had a baby, you'd have PyScript. That's it.
That is a very good
slick.
description. Yeah. Now, I've committed a faux pas. You passed the exam.
Fantastic.
Certificates in the post.
Thank
I've
you very
committed
much.
a faux pas with this first episode, though. I haven't actually introduced you both. I've said who you are, but because I know you both for years now, for a decade
Yes.
at least. But
Yes.
everyone else doesn't know who you are. So, Nicholas, do you want to tell us who you are, and then we'll go to Josh?
Okay, so my name's Nicholas Tollervey, and I'm based in the UK. I'm a long-time Python user. I've been a software engineer for, over 20 years now. Before that, I was a teacher, so I have a passion for education. And before that, I was a classically trained musician. I'm really a tuba player, so I have no idea what I'm doing on this podcast. I really should be playing umpire at the back of an orchestra somewhere, but that's the kind of the funny turn that life takes. I've also written technical books and done other sorts of writing-based things, but currently my role is as principal engineer in the PyScript team at Anaconda. Josh, who are you?
I don't know. So I'm Josh, Joshua Lowe. I'm mostly known for EduBlocks. I've been on here a few times to talk about that. I also work with Nicholas at Anaconda, but I work on EduBlocks. We work together quite a lot. So I have an interest in all things Python, education, hacking with all sorts of electronics. That's my thing.
Thank you very much, Josh. So we've got now Python in the browser, but I mean, the question to ask is, why do we need Python in the browser? What does it address?
Have you ever tried to use JavaScript?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. And it's very important to say this at the start. I am a passionate believer in respectful conversation and community, and so that was a joke. I use JavaScript every day, and it's probably my second language. But we have to admit that the reason that everybody learns Python is because it's easier to learn, and JavaScript, despite its power and some incredible features, is not the easiest language to learn, and actually contains some gotchas that beginner coders shoot themselves in the foot with all the time. So the fact that Python is easy to learn is one reason why we want Python in the browser, because all of a sudden we're making it a lot easier, more empowering to be able to create software in a browser-based context. And remember, the browser is the most ubiquitous computing platform on the planet, so everybody will be able to use whatever computing device they might have and write code for it. So this is kind of an exercise in digital empowerment. Another good reason why you should be using Python in the browser is because Python is the world's second best language at everything. Whereas JavaScript might be used for node-based development on the server side or in the browser for front-end stuff. Python can be used, it is used absolutely everywhere. If you've watched a Disney animation, it's stitched together with Python. I was at CERN just before Christmas, pretty much all the science that they do is done with Python. If you're working in fintech, it's Python. AI, machine learning, all the kind of like the hot buzzwords of the moment, that's all done with Python. So if you learn Python and get skilled up in Python, it's an easily transferable skill as well. And the last thing I would say is that using Python's fun. We all know that. And that's that's a good reason to do that. We hope that PyScript is fun. We hope that just adding a single line to your HTML file and then writing Python makes you feel that this is going to be fun. I can do all sorts of really cool things with PyScript. So it's about imagination and creativity and making cool, goofy things.
Well, that's an awesome segue, actually, because we've now covered why. We need to see about what we can do with it. So what can we build with PyScript? So it's Python in the browser, but are we limited just to a REPL, to like a prompt, or can we do something a bit more interesting than that?
Well, I think we should I should answer and then Josh should answer, or vice versa. I think maybe if I go first, I can set the scene and then segue and bowl you a nice ball that you can hit for a 6. Sorry, that's cricket. Whatever they have in baseball, I don't know. Anyway, you know what I mean. It's going to be a cool thing that Josh is going to show. So like I said, you have access to everything that's in the browser. So we do provide a REPL. So if you do print hello world and you're using the terminal feature, it will look exactly like Python in, on your Raspberry Pi or on your desktop or whatever. Okay, so you can get that. But we also have access to the DOM. The DOM is the document object model, which is the the representation of what you're looking at on the web page. So if you're a JavaScript developer, you are very au fait and familiar with what the DOM is. So we have access to that. So we can manipulate anything that you're looking at. We also have access to all the web APIs. So USB serial, Bluetooth, video, sound, audio, all of that sort of stuff that the browser is capable of. Now, Python can do that with an import statement. Okay, so we have a way of communicating with the browser through the FFI, the foreign function interface, that allows us to hook into the browser. But we're also starting to build out Pythonic libraries that make it easier to work with the HTML that's being displayed, or to create applications. So we're building an application framework called Invent that's aimed at beginners, that will in 10 minutes hopefully get you your first app. We're working at APIs that make it easy for you to kind of, I don't know, you've got your phone and you want to know where you are, and so the browser can tell you, give you a GPS coordinate as well. So we're making it easy for, rather than having to sort of stand on one leg, stick your finger in your ear and whistle "God Save the King," and then import this thing and do this thing and do this other thing, and there's this boilerplate thing. And actually, all you want to do is type something like from PyScript import get GPS. And then you call it, and it gives you. We're building out that API on top of those web APIs. Now, I could show you some examples. Actually, how do you feel about me presenting and sharing my screen? Is that okay?
By all means, yeah.
Okay, so now we're using We're using StreamYard, and like every kind of like video tool. They all does the same thing, but all the buttons are in different places. So I think the present button at the bottom, right, Les, Ash, am I right, is going to let me share the screen. Let's see.
Go for it.
Share the screen. Screen sharing is easy with 2 monitors. Oh my gosh, don't show these tips again. Screen share. Okay. Google Chrome would like to record this computer screen and audio. Open system settings. Google Chrome. Quit and reopen. Okay.
That's nice. This is why we use OBS.
Yeah, okay.
I can go if you want, Nicholas.
Let's see. Okay, hang on a second. Let me try and present again.
There's nothing like the curse of the live demo, is there? It gets everyone.
No. Okay, so what I want is the entire screen and or window. Let's go for this. So you should see yourselves. Is that Inception?
Yep, I can see you.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. So if I go to here, can you see something different?
Yep, I can see the PyScript page.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the documentation. Okay, which is at docs.pyscript.net. And if you want to start, there's a beginning PyScript thing on the left here. And because we're on the web, we can actually embed PyScript apps into a web page. So here's a very simple app called Polyglots, which it's all about pirates, pretty poly, etc., which will translate your English into Piratish. It talks you through how the thing's structured, and as you can see, it's not a very long page. And then where you should go next is the user guide, which is quite a bit more detailed. Okay, but it takes you through the whole sort of caboodle in great depth about the architecture and the stack and all the different sorts of interpreters and what you can use and what they can all do and things like that. Okay, now, if you want to start using PyScript immediately, the best place to go is pyscript.com, which is something that Anaconda have created. It's free to use. You just sign up. And these are my projects, okay? And it's a sort of an online IDE and hosting solution. So let's have a look at one of those projects. Okay, so this is So I created a version of the Turtle module that uses browser-based technology rather than tkinter, which is what the Python standard Turtle module does. And all I've done is from Turtle import the things, and then I've worked out a whole bunch of pen up, pen down, forward, whatever, and we get a bunny rabbit, okay, drawn on the screen. And that is all this Python script is. Okay, if we look at the index file for it here, all I've done is added a reference to PyScript, the latest version of PyScript, which we released a couple of days ago. And I've just said in a script tag, I'm going to be using MicroPython to run main.py. Okay, and we also have a configuration attribute that points to PyScript.toml. It could also be a JSON file as well, actually. And this sets up the development environment. And so basically what we're saying is we want these svg.py and turtle.py files to be on the file system as it appears in the browser, so that we can start to import them and use them. And that's it, really. And I can go look at this on the web. And all I need to do to share my application is to send you the URL. Okay, so I'm not quite sure how that might work, but I'm going to put that in there and you might be able to share it with people in that way. Okay, so that's one. So we saw the piratical translator. How does that work? Well, here's the code. That's it in Python. And what we do, we use a module that I happen to be the author of called R, which is translating English into Python as a service. And in the PyScript.json configuration, all I do is I tell PyScript that I want you to download the R module from PyPI. So that happens without you having to worry about it in the background, and it becomes available to your Python script. So I can just import R and do the right thing, translate the English, and set the inner text for the output div to whatever it says here. So, hello, Les. Hi, Ash. Let's hope this works. I hope so. Okay, so I translate that. Ahoy, there's Ash. Let's hope this works, etc., etc., etc. Rather silly. But I can start to do things like share the project. Okay, so if you have a mobile phone and you scan that QR code, it will take you to the it's the URL basically of that app, and you can go use that on your mobile phone, or you can copy the site link or copy the code link. This is something important to point out as well, that on PyScript.com, if you look in the bottom right, there's always going to be a link to the view code option. If you click on that, it will take you to the code so you can go take a look. So we're trying to help people explore how you use Python and share Python and check each other's projects out. And if you're signed in, I'm signed in, but looking at my own project here. But if this was somebody else's project, I'd be able to clone this and make my own version of it without interfering with the original version. And it would just sort of work. Now, remember, I said that PyScript works anywhere that a browser works. Well, many modern cars have browsers built in. And here's a Tesla with such a thing. And you remember the bunny rabbit SVG thing that I showed you? Well, yep. We're about to see that appear on this Tesla. And this is over the air, a 4G network. And here we have PyScript running in a car, which I think is pretty cool. Kind of demonstrates, the ubiquity of the browser and the fact that WebAssembly allows us to get things like Python into the browser context and do goofy things. It's all about playful creativity, this, and enabling the Python ecosystem into anywhere where's the browser. So there's that demo. A friend of mine, this was done. So this is some folks at Tufts University in the US. Mm-hmm. What you're about to see is an egg rolling app. You'll see that they're using PyScript to run it. They're using Web USB to connect a serial port to a Lego Spike Prime that is also running MicroPython. So it's Python all the way. And it's for basically decorating Easter eggs. This was taken to the White House, believe it or not, for their annual Easter egg rolling thing earlier last year.
Very good.
It's a goofy kind of makery type project. But the important thing is that you can see that you can reach out into the outside world with the web USB, web Bluetooth, and all of those things. If the browser can do it, then I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Stop sharing. If the browser can do it, PyScript can do it. So you asked, what can you do? Those are just some of the examples. But if you want to see something really cool, Josh.
No pressure then. So yeah, let me share my screen here. There we go. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. Okay, so this is back on PyScript.com here. And this is using Chris, who is one of the lecturers at Tufts University. He created a wrapper library around web serial. So Nicholas mentioned that we have this JavaScript FFI where we can reach into all the browser APIs. So this is something that he wrote here. And then what I've done is I have imported that library. It's like a nice wrapper around web serial. And I've essentially created 3 functions here, which will allow me to connect to a Raspberry Pi Pico and then turn the LED on and off. So you can see here, connect will connect the Pico via web serial. It will send 2 commands of importing the machine library and then referencing the internal LED. And then it's going to print ready to the terminal. And then LED on and off basically sends LED on and off. So if I switch tabs, this is my interface here. So if I go back to here very quickly, I've imported PyScript. I've added a CSS style library and then just created some elements here which give me some buttons and some UI. So if I go back to my tab here, you can see this is a PyScript terminal at the bottom, and then I've got my UI of the buttons to do the different stuff. And essentially, to map a button to a Python function, I just add this PyClick attribute here. So you can see I'm referencing connect, LED on and off. So let's go ahead and click connect. You can see that my Pico is there, and then it says ready. And then hopefully on the right here, when I press LED on, you'll see the LED turn on and then off. So very much like the Lego demo, you can see how easy it is to make use of these browser APIs to then connect into the outside world. So if you wanted to connect to like a Circuit Python device or a Pico, it's really easy to get started with building a nice user interface. And like Nicholas said, Python all the way. Python to do the interface and Python to do the hardware stuff. So yeah, that's just one of the many things that you can do with the JavaScript APIs and stuff in the browser to control a Pico here. I thought that would be a cool demo to show, given that it's Raspberry Pi related.
Yeah, definitely.
It's also worth pointing out that when you have standards, these are for maker folk who might be watching, so MQTT, things like that, there are libraries that we're working on. Again, Tufts folks have been working on this. Chris has actually been using PyScript to teach his undergraduates a whole bunch of engineering stuff. And so they've been really great guinea pigs, if you know what I mean, or crash test dummies or whatever. It's just, highlighting all the things that, a very experienced and an exceptional teacher would want in their formidable classroom. And so he's been developing these tools and working with us to do things like, we want to use MQTT. How do we do that? I don't know. We better figure that one out, hadn't we? So it's been rather a fun few 6 months, because that's the other thing. What's PyScript's 18 months old, something like that. It'll be 2 years old at Picom this coming year, 2 years in May. So yeah, lots of fun things. I didn't think you'd be showing them that, Josh. I was talking about, do you want to see something cool? Something else. Well, maybe we should say.
I can do.
If you want to do like an Apple reveal, just look, there's one more thing, go ahead.
So this is a great reason why you should use PyScript as well, Josh. I think you know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
I know what you're on about. Let me give a quick introduction first. So, obviously, if you want to run Python in a browser, Nicholas mentioned the few different ways, right? You can use a JavaScript sort of wrapper around Python, or a Pythonic JavaScript library, or you can essentially send Python code from the browser to a server that's running elsewhere. And just talk about like the server option, you think if you have a large application and you're sending Python code to a server and executing it, maybe a few 100,000 times a day, the cost can rise pretty rapidly, and there's some downsides to that as well. So essentially, on EduBlocks, which I've talked about before on here, what we did was use one of these JavaScript libraries to take Python and then compile it into JavaScript. So we had a Pythonic type thing running in the browser. Now, another kind of educational coding tool have like a very similar sort of thing to PyScript.com, where it's like an online ID for coding with Python and many other languages. They have like a educational feature, which allows teachers to sort of manage students' work and collect feedback and all that sort of stuff. And unfortunately, the cost got too much for them, where they had to shut it down because they were using the server method. So they were taking Python code and then putting that onto a server to then execute. Now, with PyScript, we talked about how this is Python running in the browser as if it was JavaScript, but obviously it's much more powerful and real Python because of WebAssembly. So in EduBlocks, as of this week, actually, we've switched over to PyScript execution so that we have the full power of Python in the browser. And because of the benefits of running Python on users' local machines, we don't have the massive cost overheads. So if I switch over to showing my screen here, or at least attempt to, here we go. Yeah. So this is an EduBlocks program here, like a very simple program where it's going to ask for 2 inputs, and then it's going to print the numbers added together, and then it's going to multiply them. But one of the features of this other tool was unit tests. So you think of a teacher who has to mark 30 different Python programs, and they're all going to have the same output and the same inputs. Yeah. Essentially, tests are a way that you can match the output of a program to what it actually runs as. So I've created 2 tests here, which are going to test the multiply and the addition. And you can think that if you needed to run these tests, right, you've got one call to the server to run Python and then return back, and then another call, and then it just adds up. So you've got a class of 30. You're looking at least 60 times to run this example. So if I click run here, this is actually just going to execute the Python code in JavaScript, and it's going to check my code, and you can see that it's passed here. So we have none of those costs overhead because we're using PyScript. And just to prove that it works, I run it again, but get it wrong this time. See, the multiply failed. So this is an example of integrating PyScript not just into a project, but into an online editor. So it infinitely scales, right? Because there's no servers. You're running Python on the user's local machines, and because it's real Python as well, with the power of WebAssembly, PyDide, and MicroPython, like Nicholas mentioned, because we're building on top of these things, there are a lot of capabilities that we can build in, by running Python on users' local machines.
I think it's important as well. I'm going to keep saying this, but you wouldn't believe the number of conversations I have where people, no matter how many times I say it, don't believe me. But the Python it's not your local Python running on your laptop or on your mobile phone or anything. It's not that, okay? Mm-hmm. It's not Python running in the cloud somewhere or anything like that, okay? The Python is running inside your browser, okay? Hence the infinite scalability. because this is a classic case of edge computing. You're pushing the computation out from the server to the edge closest to the user. And so Python is executing in your browser. So it's not, again, it's not your local version of Python that you might have installed on your MacBook or your Linux or your Windows machine. Okay, it's a whole nother Python. Snakes everywhere. Snakes on a plane joke coming in. It's a whole new Python in your browser. Okay, and here's the other thing.
Tesla.
In your Tesla, yes, it's got 4 wheels. It's a mobile Python, and it's Elon's Python. But the important thing is that the browser as well is perhaps the most battle-tested sandboxed computing environment on the planet. Let's face it. If you're going to try and do something nefarious, you're going to try and target the most popular computing platform you can. Yeah. And there are lots, it's a very robust place to exist, and Python through PyScript has to respect the browser's security concerns as well. So everything's highly isolated. You're not going to catch a virus through PyScript on the browser. Famous last words. Somebody's going to figure out a way of doing it. Probably, I don't know. Probably not. Okay. But the important thing is that it's a safe place in which to deploy your code as well. So it's pretty cool. It made me just grin like a Cheshire cat when Josh said, because here's the other thing. Josh is now a verb in Anaconda, where we say, yes, I've been joshed. Oh, you've been joshed too. Yes, that's right. I've been joshed. Oh, it happened to me last week. I was joshed. And what we mean by that is that I'll say, oh, right. Wouldn't it be good if we had kind of PyScript as the runtime for EduBlocks? And then Josh would say, and this is where you get joshed, oh, I did that last week, and I've kind of got something working. It's a bit shonky, and it probably will fall down. And then he'll demo this thing working perfectly and what have you, with just a little bit of polish to have to happen. But that's being joshed, is having Josh think about this like weeks ago and implement it before, old fuddy-duddies like me have even managed to catch up. So, yes. Anyway, there we go. It got me grinning like a Cheshire cat when he said, yes, it's all done and it doesn't cost us anything.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to actually having a proper go with this. So I've played around with it for a couple of hours and did the usual REPL thing, making simple maths games, that sort of thing, and Hello World 1,000 times. But I've not actually done anything serious with it, so no projects. So I'm going to sit down and do some MicroPython stuff. Now I know it works in MicroPython, and I've got that Lego Spike kit down here to play with as well, so I can go with that. Mm-hmm. But talking of projects, I know that Ash has got some projects for the month.
It's true. For those of you who don't know, we at Tom's Hardware really like the Raspberry Pi, and we cover Raspberry Pi projects all week long. So by the end of the month, we've got all of these Pi projects, and what do you do with them? You pick out 10 and you feature them again because they're so awesome. So what I've got to share with you guys today is just a couple of Raspberry Pi projects from our Best Projects of the Month list. You can find the full list at tomshardware.com. It's not published just yet. It should come up in the next couple of days. But to get you excited, I had a few that I wanted to share. And the first one I wanted to show you guys is this really, really cool Raspberry Pi Doom air hockey table. It's totally Doom themed, not just in the display that you see there, but there's 3D printed assets that have little Doom themes kind of worked into it. But also it's Raspberry Pi. It's a Doom themed air hockey table that plays Doom. So you can play Doom while you play air hockey.
That's awesome. That's how like Doom Guy just relaxes after a long day battling hell, doesn't he? Really.
He needs air hockey.
Yeah.
But also, I just think it's a really cool project. I mean, I never considered making an air hockey table from scratch, but you totally can. It's got a Pi driving the air pump system underneath and the scoring, and you can just go crazy with LEDs. There's 2 Pis in this, actually. There's a Picom involved to handle some of the LEDs. So yeah,
the LEDs on the table as well, they can become like a really low fidelity screen. So it can replicate what's on the main screen on the air hockey side.
And keep track of your score. Like right there, you can see the zeros in the corners. Yep, that's awesome.
Like that.
And the next one I want to share with you guys, I think this is cool. Maybe it's because I write all the time for Tom's Hardware, so I like word processors. But this is called Raspberry Pi Zero Writer. Oh no, I went to the wrong tab. That was the next one. okay, sorry, Zero Writer. It's an e-ink typewriter, and it's got an e-ink screen, and it's a typewriter. I mean, it's everything that it sounds like. But it's really cool. You can take it with you. It's got a Raspberry Pi Zero inside and a 40% keyboard, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. 3D printed housing. I just like the idea of having a portable word processor with an e-ink screen. What do you guys think? Would you want something like that?
What it needs is, one of those thermal printers, so that when you've done your document, you press a button and it looks like, a massive long receipt from the checkout, but it's actually your magnum opus of, War and Peace or whatever it is.
And if the thermal tape was silver coloured, just like an old ZX Spectrum printer, that would be good.
Just use it to print out ASCII art.
Yes. That's pretty cool.
And the last one I wanted to share, oh my gosh, this was just hilarious. So everybody was waiting for the Raspberry Pi 5 to come out for ages, and the social media team was feeling the pressure. So they took some initiative and designed their own Raspberry Pi 5 before the official one came out. And it's beautiful. You've got to read the whole blog post on the Raspberry Pi website, because Ashley did a wonderful job just covering the story. But they wanted to put all of the Python libraries on it, just ready to go. They're just already on the Pi. All of the USB support. It should have Evan's phone number at the bottom. That was part of the original design, but it didn't make it to the final board because, yes, somebody actually did make this. They didn't feel like soldering anything, so you have to do your own GPIO. But look at all these USB ports up here at the top. Isn't that? Those aren't ports. Those are just USB. I don't know. It's beautiful. There's a bottle opener on it.
But of course, that's what we need. That is very
Your
cool.
pint.
Oof.
Oh.
Raspberry pint. Yeah.
Yes.
That is very cool.
Oh no, there's the other picture. There's more close-ups. Yeah, look at all that USB support. So nobody can complain that it doesn't have USB-C or mini or micro or whatever. They're all there. And it comes with Pillow, ChatGPT, Blinka, and NumPy. So those are just a few of the projects you'll find on our Projects of the Month list. There's a lot of other cool ones, but those are just enough to get you excited.
Awesome.
Cheers, Ash. Right, well, before we wrap up, I've got just a little bit of something to tease you all with, a review coming up on Tom's Hardware. I'm just going to go to OBS so you can see what I see.
Better be
overhead,
cool.
We have Banana for Scale, and we have a tiny laptop. So this is a Lychee Console 4A. This is a RISC-V laptop. And the reason it's on top of a ThinkPad, this is an X390 for those playing at home, is to give you a size reference, because Banana for Scale is not universal. But also, when I flip it around and show it to the camera, it looks like a tiny ThinkPad.
It really does.
How cute is that? Really nice sort of thing. So I'll give you some basic specs. I've not done any review work on this, so I can't tell you how fast it is, what it can do, anything. I've literally had it in my hands for 4 hours, and it's been really busy today with CES work, so not a chance to play. But we've got a quad-core 1.85 gigahertz RISC-V processor, 16 gig of LPDDR4, 128 gig eMMC storage, and it's got a version of Linux. I think it's Debian Linux it's running. 7-inch screen, 1280 by 800. Also got a mini HDMI output. Touch screen. It's got the track point that some of us like, some of us don't like. You can fight in the comments for that one. I love it.
I think it's great.
It just works. This one thing I can report. It is a little bit stiff at times, so I've just upped the sensitivity on it. But anyway, webcam, headphone socket. It's got microphone, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.4, gigabit Ethernet, which works pretty quick as well. USB-C, USB 3, and yeah, I haven't done the review yet at all. It's been in my hands for a few hours, but so far it is an adorable little machine. And it is tiny. There you go. You're getting all the angles right now.
I love how an X390 is now a unit of measurement. I think I'm going to use it.
It's just because I couldn't get to the X220 at the bottom of the drawer, so it was on top.
Oh, Les, do you know what? my personal machine is a 390, and you mentioned a 220, and I've still got mine from like 10, 12 years ago. It's almost as if we know each other and like the same sorts of laptops.
T430S right here.
Oh wow, there we go.
They're just
Abram has the
bulletproof
ThinkPad
machines.
too.
Over.
ThinkPads are good.
They are.
Yep. So Josh, what are you rocking now?
Well, I do have a Lenovo ThinkPad. I'm not the odd one out here.
No, there you go.
That's
There you
good.
go. No,
They
good
just
little
make
machine.
sense. They're easy to fix.
They are very easy to fix. And this, I also add, has proper screws in it, so you can take the back off and go inside. I'd look inside there before, very quickly, and thinking, hey, is there a hard drive in there? No, it's just empty space with access to some pins, which I don't know what they are yet, but review coming soon. I'm interested to play around with that because it's RISC-V, and RISC-V is really cool and interesting, and I want to play. I've put in the chat for everyone a link to the PyScript Discord server, so if you want to go there and learn about PyScript, by all means go there. I'll also just pop on the screen now, PyScript.com, so you know to go there and have a play around. Seriously, have some time there, have a bit of fun with it. I did, and great fun. And I want to do more because it does MicroPython, and I love MicroPython. But that is it for this week. Oh, Nicholas, go on.
No, I was just about to say, yeah, the Discord channel is where to go for the community, to the PyScript community. Lots of community meetings, and in fact, sometimes Josh and I, for instance, this morning and perhaps tomorrow morning UK time, we were pairing, and we do that in the room, in front of anybody who happens to turn up, so you can see the work that we're doing as we're building PyScript out. So yeah, come join us. We're a friendly community.
Awesome, thank you. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you to our guests, Nicholas Tollervey and Joshua Lowe. Very insightful. I'm going to have a play around with PyScript. Thank you to Ash for coming along again. Having a bit of fun, aren't we?
First one. The show.
Okay. I do a decent job sometimes. We're back next week, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. in the UK, with another great guest, and we'll see you all next week. Ta-da.